The Ahsoka series is set in a post-Return of the Jedi galaxy, meaning there are many surviving heroes of the rebellion who could make an appearance. We've already seen glimpses of Mon Mothma, Sabine Wren, and Hera Syndulla. But what about the big three heroes of the original trilogy? I'm talking Han, Leia, and Luke. And what about Lando and Chewie? Well, Sublight's got you sorted with a breakdown of each of their stories told across books, comics, games, and other reference material. By filling in this gap, we can figure out where our heroes are by the time the Ahsoka series takes place. But before we answer the question of where they are during Ahsoka, we need to figure out when is Ahsoka. So let's travel back to the Rebels' victory over Endor as our jumping off point. The Battle of Endor took place in the year 4 ABY, that's after the Battle of Yavin. The destruction of the second Death Star and the death of the Emperor, for now, was a major turning point in the Galactic Civil War, but it wasn't the end of the fight to restore democracy across the galaxy.
I love democracy.
4 ABY was around the last time that we saw Sabine, living in Ezra's old quarters on Lothal. She speeds off to meet with Ahsoka in the final scenes of Star Wars Rebels.
It's been a while. Things have changed.
Sabine Wren is played in live action by Natasha Liu Bordizzo, who told SFX magazine roughly when the Ahsoka series takes place. She said that the series is set to run in parallel with The Mandalorian Season 3. So then, when does Mando 3 take place? Well, the events of The Mandalorian begin 5 years after Return of the Jedi, which places it around 9 ABY. Series co-creator Jon Favreau has said he believes there's 2 years between the end of Season 2 and Season 3 of The Mandalorian, putting its events occurring roughly around 11 ABY. And if the events of the Ahsoka series run in parallel, that means that while Din, Bo, and Grogu were reclaiming Mandalore, among other things, Ahsoka was continuing her quest to find Ezra Bridger, a Jedi Padawan who was last seen with a blue-skinned, red-eyed admiral.
Where is Grand Admiral Thrawn?
So now that we can safely say the Ahsoka series takes place around 11 ABY, let's take a look at what some of our heroes were up to, starting with Luke Skywalker. Shortly after the Battle of Endor, the redemption of Anakin Skywalker, and the death of his father, Luke returned to Yavin 4. He was joined by his sister Leia, who Luke vowed to train in the ways of the Jedi. But on the final night of her training, Leia was given a vision in the Force which led her away from the Jedi path. After the Battle of Endor, Luke stepped away from galactic affairs, leaving Leia to sort out the politics of the New Republic and accepting that she was born to be a senator. Instead, Luke traveled the galaxy in search of Jedi knowledge and artifacts imbued with the Force. In particular, Luke was searching for the late Emperor's observatories, hidden vaults scattered on remote worlds across the galaxy, many of which contained relics of both Jedi and Sith origin.
If the Empire's here, what I sensed was true.
One observatory found on the wild planet of Pilio produced Luke with the Jedi Star Compass, an ancient piece of technology that worked similarly to a Sith wayfinder.
I'd like to keep this compass, if you don't mind.
This one would eventually lead Luke to the first Jedi Temple on Ahch-To. Eventually, the time came for Luke to set up a new academy and welcome Jedi initiates. Luke settled on Ossus and began building a new Jedi Temple. But before settling down entirely, he heard the call of Grogu all the way from the Seeing Stone on Tython. In 9 ABY, Luke found Grogu on Moff Gideon's Imperial cruiser. Together, they returned to Ossus, where Luke offered to make Grogu his first initiate of the new Jedi Order. Luke actually met Ahsoka around 9 ABY as well, and the last time we saw the two interact was around 2 years before the start of the Ahsoka series.
So much like your father.
And even though Grogu turned down Luke's offer to become the first initiate, Luke would go on to recruit dozens more. So it's possible that during the time of the Ahsoka series, Luke is now master of his own order with many Padawans under his tutelage.
Will I see you again?
Perhaps.
So what about Luke's sister? Leia Organa became Leia Organa Solo the day after the Battle of Endor. Following their honeymoon aboard the Halcyon, remember the Halcyon?
You will be boarding the Halcyon.
She traveled to Yavin 4 with Luke to learn how to use her natural gifts in the Force. But that vision we mentioned earlier was about her son, who was not yet born. The Force told her that if she followed the path of the Jedi, it would end with Ben Solo's death. Leia became pregnant with Ben sometime between 4 and 5 ABY. She could feel herself connecting more strongly with the Force as her son, destined to become a strong Force user himself, was growing inside her. Given no choice due to her vision in the Force, Leia relinquished her saber but played an instrumental role in the end of the Galactic Civil War. Leia managed to bring both parties together to sign the Galactic Concordance in 5 ABY. The Galactic Concordance was an agreement that carved out a small system for the Imperial remnant to retreat to. They would continue to govern within this small system, but given their diminished status and resources, they had very little influence on the rest of galactic affairs. The agreement was signed 1 year and 5 days after the Battle of Endor, which was also the day that Leia gave birth to her son. Ben Solo was born in Hana City on Chandrilla, the capital of the New Republic at the time. Although she didn't follow the Jedi path like her brother or her father before them, Leia chose to serve the galaxy in a different way.
Senator Organa, it's been a while.
Building a republic is busy work.
She continued to be a high-ranking and influential member of the New Republic Senate, where she still serves at the time of the Ahsoka series. So while we've seen Mon Mothma appear in the trailers, perhaps we'll see her confidant and closest friend, Senator Leia Organa Solo. So what exactly has Han Solo and his first mate Chewbacca been up to since the Battle of Endor? After spending a year frozen in carbonite, Han wasted no time in marrying Leia and starting a family. Han also set out to make good on his promise to Chewbacca, that one day they would travel to Kashyyyk and liberate the Wookiees from Imperial servitude.
I'm meeting an Imperial turncoat. Says he can help us free the Wookiees back on Kashyyyk.
2 months after the Battle of Endor, Han and Chewie had rallied a band of smugglers and Wookiees to lead the attack on Kashyyyk. But before they could launch the attack, they were ambushed. Han and Chewbacca were separated, and Chewie was once again enslaved by the Empire.
This is just getting good.
But finally, 8 months after the Battle of Endor and 6 months after the attack was supposed to begin, the liberation of Kashyyyk took place. Chewbacca was rescued and the Empire was driven from Kashyyyk. Han traveled to be with his wife on Hana City during the signing of the Galactic Concordance, and he was there for the birth of his son. Having known very little of his own family growing up, Han struggled with his new duties as a father. He also struggled with his wife's duties as public figure and senator during peacetime. Knowing he was destined to be out among the stars, Han Solo exited the family unit and became a racing pilot. So when it comes to the Ahsoka series in 11 ABY, Han and Leia won't be together, but they still stay in touch via holo.
Just be sure you do come back.
Don't worry. You can't get rid of us that easily.
Now let's take a look at Lando Calrissian and what he's been up to since the end of Return of the Jedi.
You might wanna buckle up, baby.
After the Battle of Endor, General Lando Calrissian continued to fight against what remained of the Empire, including a counterattack against Operation Cinder, the Emperor's last command and revenge against a galaxy that failed to defend its Emperor. Part of that command was to use satellites to destabilize the climate on Naboo, rendering it uninhabitable. Lando Calrissian and Leia Organa Solo joined the Queen of Naboo in defending the capital city during the Battle of Theed. Together they were able to stop Operation Cinder and save the planet. Following the Battle of Theed, it was time for Lando to return to Cloud City and reclaim his title as Baron Administrator. Cloud City orbits Bespin, a gas giant located in the Anowat sector. Upon learning of the destruction of the second Death Star and the death of the Emperor, an Imperial warlord named Admiral Adelhard blockaded the sector and attempted to annex it from the rest of the galaxy.
You will answer to me.
Lando coordinated with his old buddy Lobot, who stayed behind on Cloud City to stage an uprising and liberate Cloud City as well as the Anowat sector. By the year 7 ABY, Lando had re-established himself as Baron Administrator of Cloud City. Ever an entrepreneur, Lando took over tech giant Vylar Tech, renaming it Calrissian Enterprises, and he manufactured droids for service on Cloud City. That's most likely where Lando is during the events of Ahsoka in 11 ABY. He's most likely settled down by now with the mother of his future child, a daughter named Kadara Calrissian, who's due to be born in 2 years' time in 13 ABY. So now you know where the heroes are during the Ahsoka series. Which one do you think is most likely to show up? Let me know in the comments down below. Give this video a thumbs up if you learned something new, sub to Sublight if you haven't already, and remember the Force will be with you. Always.